What's up, guys? Good morning. This is Steve Kwong along with Natalie's Jess and a very special guest, Rishi Taparia, investor, operator, just all around awesome human being. We are excited to have him discuss his background as well as talk about what's happening for the Father's Day weekend. Rishi, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. So, full disclosure, the reason that I got Rishi on here is because he owes me a favor. He's one of our investors in Kirikabi, and we've been hounding him for a while now to get on the podcast. So, Rishi, we're super happy that you finally made it. So, let's get right to it. Tell us who you are, man. What makes you such an amazing person?
Well, I'll use your words, not mine. As an amazing person, I'm grateful for the compliment, Stephen. And so I got to know Stephen through our investment in Kirikabi. He's lying when he's telling you that he took a long time to get me on this thing. He asked once, and I was like, absolutely, because I would do anything for this guy. Look, by way of quick introduction, Rishi Taparia. I live in the Bay Area in Orinda with my wife and two kids, but got here through a somewhat unique path. Born in Canada, and then moved to Indonesia when I was 3 years old. I grew up as an expat, spent my entire childhood in Jakarta, and then moved to the States when I was 17. Moved to Evanston, Illinois, where I was going to Northwestern for undergrad. And so a kid from the tropics now plopped into the Midwest. That first winter was certainly something I did not expect, but nevertheless,
Right.
4 years, 4 years in the Midwest in Evanston near Chicago. I had a blast there. And then graduated in 2008 into the financial crisis. And of course, as an first job out of school, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I said, okay, let's just see what this finance thing is about. And so got into investment banking at Merrill Lynch in New York in the financial institutions group. And so needless to say, in 2008, the financial institutions group, where your clients are all the banks, asset managers, and insurance companies that are really in trouble because of poor decisions that they had made previously, that now is causing the great financial crisis, was a crazy time to be in New York and on Wall Street. A few years in, I quickly kind of decided and realized that I didn't want to do this for the rest of my career. And so started looking around at what other opportunities were there, and looked kind of to the West Coast and technology. I'd always had a passion for and interest in tech. Was always the kind of early adopter kid who wanted the latest and greatest in gadgets. Worked for Apple when I was an undergrad as a campus rep, and so said, okay, how do I get out west? And moved to California with two goals in mind. One, to get into technology, and the second being to stay with my then girlfriend, who was way out of my league, and I didn't want to lose, and who was moving back to California. And so, happy to say, 11 years later, check on both. Managed to break into tech, and also now married for almost 7 years to my wife. We've been together for almost 14, and so it's been a great ride. Moved out to California in 2010. Actually got into venture, which was unique. I was actually looking at companies and operating roles, but happened to get into venture. So worked first 2 years at Scale Venture Partners, more of a mid-stage fund focused on B2B SaaS enterprise companies. Had a blast there. Worked with some amazing people. And then after 2 years, I ended up getting poached over to Matrix Partners, more of an early stage fund across both consumer and enterprise, and had the chance to see kind of the founding stories and founding companies, and how companies were started and would get started, what made for a good early stage investment. Had the chance to work with some amazing entrepreneurs, Melanie Perkins and Cliff Obrecht at Canva, as an example, was one of the deals that I had the chance to work on. And so just, had an amazing time. 2 years into that journey, we at Matrix had invested in a company called Poynt, building hardware and software for payments acceptance, trying to reimagine the payment terminal as a smart, connected, and programmable device that not only accepted payments, but also had the ability to run software on that same device. Trying to do for merchants what the smartphone did for consumers. Started by an amazing entrepreneur, Osama Badir. So we invested in the business. They were working out of our conference room, and one day, a few months into that investment, Osama came to me and said, "Hey, why don't you come get a real job and join me here at Poynt?" And so I ended up leaving venture after a number of conversations with the team and the companies that I was working with, and joined Poynt as the seventh employee and first non-technical hire, and just had a blast over the next 5 years. Helped see the company grow to well over 100, 150 people, offices in 4 countries, products shipped to 8, raised over 150 million in additional capital, serving over 125,000 merchants. And it was just an amazing journey, and really getting to see from the ground up what it means to build and grow a company. As a generalist, I wore basically every hat under the sun that was not product or engineering. So sales, marketing, legal, finance, accounting, BD, HR. It's some I've touched it all, and just had an amazing time, and really loved it. And so after 5 years there, took some time off to be dad to our first kid, our son, who was born in 2018, and then kicked around the company idea with a close friend and colleague of mine. Ended up shelving that, and then joining a company called Legion, building AI and machine learning powered workforce management software, helping companies manage their hourly employees and create perfect match schedules that match the business needs and who needs to work where, when, with the employees' needs, really giving the power to the hourly employee, allowing them to define their work preferences, where they want to work, when they want to work, how much they want to work, and creating that perfect match schedule that satisfies the needs of both the employee and the business. And so joined there on the leadership team, running strategy and business operations in December 2019. Had an amazing run with the company through 2020. Obviously, during the pandemic, a lot of the customers that we were working with were impacted, but the business continued to thrive, and ended up just transitioning out this past March as I spent time with our second child and our daughter, who's now almost 6 months old, and figuring out my next adventure. Along the same time, in 2018, I'd started a little angel fund with a very close friend of mine from back home in Indonesia. And together we raised a small amount of money, just under $3 million, to invest in and behind amazing entrepreneurs and founders at the earliest stages, trying to support them as angels, and really bring kind of the operator mindset to our investments and to the companies we back. And it's through that fund, Garuda Ventures, that I got to meet Stephen. And he allowed me to join him on the career cubby journey, and it's been great getting to know him and see the company continue to thrive. And so, a long introduction, but certainly my unlikely journey, and just very grateful for all the people that I've had the chance to meet and work with, and all the opportunities that I've been blessed with.
Wow, that's amazing. So this is what I just did. I just typed in the word inspiration into Google, and a picture of you came up. So yeah, this is amazing. You are the exact prototype that we want on this show. Folks that have gone through many intersections in life and are still able to juggle and find balance between family, work, venture, all that kind of stuff. So tell us, what brings you that balance? What makes it so that you're able to do all of these things and not having to jump off a bridge due to stress?
Well, I'm very lucky to have a partner in my wife who keeps me grounded, and she is very much the person that I count on and lean on whenever I am feeling stressed, and has a unique way of working with a deep understanding of who I am, to help me kind of navigate my way through whatever challenges that I'm facing. So I think it's I got very lucky in finding a spouse who I can turn to and have these conversations with, and who keeps me grounded and reminds me of what matters. And I think especially after having kids And now kind of watching them grow, it's just so clear kind of what the priorities need to be and how to prioritize my time. I think that I certainly will not pretend to be an expert at it. However, I'm learning every day, and especially now with two kids, you very much realize that your time is not your own, and so needing to just make sure that you have kind of what's the list of things you need to get done, what's urgent and important, what's urgent not important, what's important not urgent, and what's neither urgent nor important. Figure out that list, draw the line, and anything that's below the line, you're just not gonna do. And so I think also just learning how to let go and not take on too many things is something that I've started realizing that I need to do more of. But it's very much starts with the family, starts with kind of core values, what matters, and it's easier now certainly when kind of what matters walks into your office and says, "Daddy, can you come play?"
Question for you. So, like, because you've had such an interesting career and just like kind of like shifted into all these different things and worn so many hats per se, what would you say? Like, what would you say, like, in terms of your passion, like what's lit you up on this like journey, and like how has that shifted? I mean, clearly, like we're talking about fatherhood and that, but like, what, like, you need a lot of passion to be able to juggle all of these things, and take all these risks. So, how, like, in terms of your journey and in just in terms of what's inspired you and what's kept you going, like how have you seen that shift from like the beginning of your career to say like where you are now?
I think the one thing that I would say is a constant across kind of all the opportunities that I've had and the jumps that I've made is people. I am very much somebody who gets energy and draws energy from the people that I'm around. And I've had the great fortune of working with some amazing human beings who have been peers, mentors, colleagues, shoulders to cry on, and lifelong friends that I've just had such an amazing time with. And it's the people that continue to inspire me kind of on a daily basis in my work. And so, for me, when I think about new opportunities, when I think about career trajectory, what do I want to be when I grow up, it always comes back to kind of who am I working with, who am I working around, what opportunities do I have to work with just amazing humans, and that kind of has carried me through. From back in when I was a banker, which is working with some amazing people and friends who I have to this day. Back into venture and having colleagues take me under their wing, teach me the ropes. I moved out to California not knowing anybody, with the exception of two people, and had to kind of figure out my way through and building a network here and uh, navigating through the craziness that is the Silicon Valley, and did that thanks to other individuals. And so it has been the people all the way through, and that's the first thing that I look for whenever I'm looking at new opportunities, new investment opportunities, job opportunities, and the like.
I love that. So, being a father now, if you could give your kids advice, like based on just kind of your journey, like what would you like? How would you advise your kids as they, grow into like, young adults at some point and like kind of embark on their own, making their own stamp on the world?
It's a good question. I think the one thing that I would tell them is figure out what you actually enjoy and figure out what you like. Don't let the expectations of others or the societal expectations or whatever it is, uh, tell you what you should be enjoying, tell you what you should be liking, tell you the path that you should be taking. Um, and and so figure out what that is and go deeper and as deep as you can on that. Enjoy that, and play around. Go broad, do different things just to get diversity of experience, because I think that's such an important thing, particularly when you're young, and learning how to be a teen learning how to be a young adult, before you get to where I am with 2 kids now. Explore, experiment, test, and have a wide range of experience, because that will help inform future decisions more than anything else.
So Rishi, first of all, congrats on the family and 2 kids. So you guys, Nisha, Rishi's wife, is beautiful. I went to school with her, and we went on a trip together and was able to get to know her. She's awesome. Also, businesswoman in her own right as well, obviously. So together they're a power couple. But Rishi, I want to go back to sort of this idea of like, people, so and risk, right? So when you took the job at Poynt as the first non-technical person, how did you weigh that decision for yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. Calculated risk, I would say. Uh, at that point in my life, I had been working in venture for 4 years. I knew that I wanted to go build. I was kicking around some ideas of my own and talking to other companies, and Poynt kind of was right there. I'd gotten to another team. I had some unique insight into the team, given that we had invested, and knew that the company, certainly had enough money to last a couple of years. And just looking and working with the team, it was an amazing set of people. Osama Madir, founder and CEO, Ray Tanaka, first employee, the heart and soul of the business, Fayez Assar, Praveen Alavili, just amazing people that over the few months that I had been working with them, had really gotten to know and like. And it just so happened that Nisha, my wife, was about to start at business school at Stanford. And so, we talked about it and said, okay, well, you're about to go to business school. I can make going to Poynt kind of my business school, and 2 years from
That's
now,
amazing.
we'll see what happens. And 2 years at Poynt turned into 5, and it just had a blast. But I think there's risk taking, but I think calculated risk is the way I like to go about things. Like, understand all the variables, understand what you're getting into, go in eyes wide open, knowing what could go wrong, and being okay with it, because you can't predict
Yeah.
the future, and open yourself to opportunity. And I think the other thing is, for me, I knew that whether or not Poynt was a successful outcome, whether or not it was big hit or not, working with amazing people and getting a feel for what building a startup is, getting in from the ground up, and building it from the ground up would be valuable. And so the objective for me in joining Poynt was to have that experience, and then anything above and beyond that, business success, and so on, would just be gravy. And so I think going into an opportunity, knowing what you're expecting out of it, and kind of what's in your control, and making sure you can have some control of the outcome, I think was important for me, in that regard. And so that's how I chose to go to Poynt, and that that's the story.
Hey, Rishi, I love this idea about joining a startup as going to business school. That's that I think that's right on point. And speaking of that, what have you learned from joining a startup that you didn't know while you were on the venture investing side?
Oh man, so many things. Startups are chaos. Uh, I was about to say controlled chaos, but even that would be too much of a stretch, for a lot of cases. Um, Startups are chaos, and I think especially going to a early in their life cycle startup, it just requires a level of comfort with chaos that that one needs to understand whether or not they are good with. Startups are definitely not for everybody, and I think that while you see all the press and the stories of all these companies with crazy valuations and crazy growth, and it can seem appealing and the like. I mean, startups are usually, especially at the early stages, chaotic, unstructured, without the foundations that large companies have. and that is very much not for everybody. But I think if you can thrive in chaos, if you're looking for accelerated learning path, if you want to wear many different hats and basically jump in and on top of problems and solve them, I think early stage companies are a great place to be. But chaos for sure. I think the other thing that I had to really get used to and learn was this idea that there are fires burning at startups, but you can't put them all out, and so sometimes you just have to let the fires burn. And that for me was certainly new and different, coming from a relative and more traditional background in kind of finance and investment banking, where everything had to be perfect. All the formatting of slides and the way you present and decks and this, that, and like the models, all that had to be perfect. Like startups, nothing is perfect,
Yeah.
and that's a learned
For sure.
exercise, because otherwise, if you try to get to perfect, you're never going to get anything done. And it requires kind of not looking at what's directly in front of you and what's burning in front of you, and taking a step back from that to see what you need to get done, such that 6 months from now, 12 months from now, you can be successful, and letting fires burn. And that was another major learning for me that I did not truly internalize before joining Poynt.
Rishi, what are the key characteristics, or I can say maybe personality profiles, that would make for good startup team members, startup employees, in your opinion?
I don't know if there are any specific characteristics, just because I think startups are so different. The startup journey is so different. Individuals are so different, that I think it's very much about what team is that player on. And in some instances, individuals will thrive, and others they won't. And so that's a harder question for me to answer. I would say, if there's a kind of blanket set of characteristics, I would say one would be kind of comfort with disorganization, and kind of comfort with chaos, especially at early stage companies, just because you don't have the structure, you don't have the kind of base level foundation of HR and finance and kind of set paths and so on, that exist at larger organizations. And so I think just a comfort with lack of structure, and a little bit of chaos is kind of one characteristic I think is going to be required. And then a comfort with jump doing things that are outside of your scope, outside of your mandate, outside of your quote unquote job description, is probably the other. Being willing to jump in and help and support where needed, and as needed, I think is an important characteristic for early stage company hires, for sure. And kind of an understanding that, and I think it's the third characteristic, understanding that what you signed up for is probably going to change many times over, and so being comfortable with that change is probably the third.
So Rishi, question for you, like as far as like founders go, because now you move, like you have this fund and you're investing in other companies, like what would like let's just like dig in on it. Like what do you look for as a characteristic in say a founder for a company when they approach you, and what are some of the deal breakers that are kind of red flags for you where they might not be ready for a certain level of investment?
So for me, the first thing and the most important thing is the team. Who are the founders? What is their story? What's their journey? Uh, why are they starting this company? I think understanding who they are and understanding the why is really important for me. Just because starting a company is crazy. Uh, there are far more pragmatic and rational ways to make a living. There are far with less stress, less pain, less tumult, and so if you're choosing to start a company, there's got to be a why behind it. And so I try and understand that why, and is that why, is it a secret that's been discovered, and an inefficiency that's been discovered as a result of working in industry for 15 years? Is it a problem that's been identified that is very much felt by the team that they want to go fix? Is it a desire to work with this, with the co-founder set and an identification of a big market and a big opportunity? Like, what's the why that is causing this individual or a group of individuals to take one of the riskiest journeys from a kind of career standpoint and sign up for 5, 7, 10, 15 years of pain to start this company? And that to me kind of is the biggest thing. I remember sitting down at the coffee shop on Second Street with Steven and meeting him and learning about his why, and yes, it made sense. And it, it's one of those, like, I loved him, loved his why, understood the problem area, and wanted to back him because he's exceptional. And so kind of that's the first and second thing I look for, is like the people and the why. And then it's things like, what's the market opportunity? How big is the market? Do I agree with the assessment that the founders are making in terms of the problem area or the opportunity, and figuring that out. And then kind of depending upon the stage, whether it's pre-product, what does the product inclination look like? If it's got product, what is the product like? What kind of traction has the company seen, and so on. But those are kind of more easily diligenced, I guess. But the big ones are team and kind of the why behind the company. What's the secret? What's the special sauce that is going to make this thing great?
Hey, Rishi, thank you for those kind words. You're going to see a check in the mail for a good sum of money for saying those things. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man, this is 2021. Just Venmo that.
Okay,
baby.
that's right. We're in the payments industry. And speaking of payments industry, you've been in payments for a long time. And, for sure, fintech is, really hot right now. Just love to hear your thoughts on how the industry is trending. What do you see as the future for fintech investment?
Yeah, look, I think fintech is definitely a buzzword now that is, household has household utilization, and I think that what is defined as fintech continues to broaden, just because at its core, it businesses are in the business of making money, moving money, spending money, and so as a result, whenever there's money movement, whenever there's companies that are spending, managing their expenses, and so on, there's big opportunity. And the flow of finances and the flow of payments has been taking place for centuries. It's just the technology that's being utilized continues to evolve, and so I think fintech as a category is going to continue to grow, with more and more companies finding niches and unique and nuanced opportunities to deliver value for their customers. I think and the reason for it is fundamentally the players that have been powering kind of the global economy have gotten incredibly big. And when you're a massive multi-$100 billion business, as a bank or an asset manager or insurance company, your focus is not on necessarily innovating and creating new and unique ways of delivering value to your customer. It's about servicing your customer on your bread and butter, because you've got the customer, you've got the lock-in. And I think what more and more companies are realizing now is it's actually possible to build very big businesses on the backs of APIs and integrations that were previously not possible, and create the unique experiences for customers that are delivering value that now will attract more and more customers and allow you to grow very big very quickly. And so I think fintech as a category, incredibly hot. I think more and more you're going to see technology companies come up to serve as kind of the picks and shovels of fintech. How do we give developers the ability to build amazing experiences on top of our system, which is built on top of legacy systems via integration? You look at companies like Plaid, companies like Stripe, companies like Noyo in the insurance space. all of these APIs that are enabling better experiences that developers are then able to take advantage of, I think are going to continue to grow as well. And then you've got companies that are just baking in payments into their stack. The joke is every company is a fintech company, every company is a payments company, because of the vast expanse of payments and the need to accept and send money to customers and to users. And so I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity that emerges there too. But fintech is certainly a hot space, continuing to get hotter, and is potentially one of those things that just becomes a horizontal, where every company has some level of payments and fintech capability built in.
Well, Rishi, man, thank you for that amazing and simplified explanation. I think many of our listeners are going to really appreciate your explanation. So, this weekend is Father's Day. How are you going to celebrate? Like, what's happening on the home front?
Oh, man. This Father's Day is going to be a special one for me, because my parents both just got here from Singapore. They live there now after 25 years in Indonesia. They both just got here from Singapore this past Sunday. And so for the first time, we'll have my dad, myself, and my kids in the house for Father's Day. And my father-in-law also happens to live in the East Bay nearby. And so we'll have all the dads and granddads all together, and just excited to celebrate with the family and have my dad in the same room.
Well, that's amazing, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, Rish, I don't know how to thank you, man, but we got to go out and hang out and get some drinks. It's been a while, so I'm looking forward to that. On the behalf of Nathalise, Jess, this is Stephen Kwong signing out. Unlikely Journey with Rishi, and thank you so much, guys. Have a great day, and as always, peace.